Hello Okita, this is Pacific Waves from RNZ Pacific. I'm Susana Swiswiki. Coming up.
Citizens have been held up, cars stolen, injured, abused for nearly 20 years.
Police-led evictions of informal settlements in PNG causing havoc. Also, Cook Islands Prime Minister congratulates the new All Blacks coach, and Moana Pasifika looked to shake off last week's loss against the Force. Papua New Guinea authorities have run into some big problems in their campaign to remove communities from informal settlements in the capital. It's estimated around half of Port Moresby's population of about 500,000 live in settlements, often without legal land titles or access to basic services. As Johnny Blades reports, police-led eviction exercises since the start of the year haven't gone smoothly.
In January, police moved into the settlement at Rabiagini, known as 2 Mile. It sparked clashes with residents that resulted in 2 deaths and numerous injuries. The local MP in Moresby South, Justin Chichenko, says the settlement had become a notorious criminal hotspot and things had to change.
Hold-ups nearly every night, every day. Women have been raped, attacked. Citizens have been held up, cars stolen, injured, abused for nearly 20 years. And it came to a conclusion when the police were shot at and injured, and they gave an ultimatum to those that lived in Rabiagini to hand over those criminals. They didn't, and the police went in and demolished the whole community of Rabiagini.
Police then started to evict people from another settlement, 4 Mile, but this was met with a legal challenge which led to the National Court placing a stay order on the eviction. The head of police in the National Capital District, Metropolitan Superintendent Warwick Simutab, says evictions are now on hold while political leaders discuss next steps.
All other evictions, now we're putting them on hold until...
All other evictions, we're putting them on hold until we check in at the political level with the Governor's Office and NCD and the 3 open members to work through these resettlement plans and all this.
Fiona Hukula is a PNG anthropologist who has done extensive work on settlements. She says eviction exercises in the past have been similarly destructive. Homes were razed to the ground, people were left homeless and then simply moved to other areas of vacant land or ended up living with wantoks in other parts of Moresby. Dr. Hukula says the settlements are long-established communities, stretching back decades.
Essentially, people came to work in the towns and the cities, like in Port Moresby. And so where there was low-cost housing or where people weren't able to afford housing, they started living in settlements. And some of the settlements on the outskirts, there's stories that they made some kind of connection and deals with the local landowners.
She says that over the years, migration to the towns and cities has grown significantly, but the available housing has not kept pace.
With urban drift, people are just now coming into the city really to access better services, health and education. Some Papua New Guineans are coming to the city to escape various forms of conflict and violence. And this is now where we've seen just an influx of people coming into the city, and obviously there's nowhere to live, and they live in settlements.
And many of Moresby's settlements are populated by families who've been there for several generations.
An eviction is not going to solve the problem because people will, as I said, they'll just go and find somewhere else to stay, especially if they're generations, they're generational families who have lived in these settlements, who don't necessarily have the ties back to their rural villages and their connections to their people in their village.
Adding to the complexities of the eviction drive are social connections forged in the capital over the years. Superintendent Simutab admits that for him personally, leading the eviction exercises such as at 2 Mile hasn't been easy.
Because I grew up here. I grew up in NCD.
Because I grew up here, I grew up in NCD. Example, in 2 Mile, most of my classmates that I went to school together with, they live there. So for me personally, it's a difficult thing that I have to do.
Justin Chichenko says government is steadily working on resettling the removed communities.
We have already allocated land and subdivided that land for over 400 families in the 2 Mile Hill area and other areas. Some have already been resettled and moved, and others will follow suit.
Dr. Hukula says persisting with displacing communities from other settlements will not address the underlying cause of the problem.
It is a ticking time bomb. It's going to be like this where there's evictions and then people move. And the thing is that the cycle of violence continues. And that's what we're trying to address here, the crime. And so it's got to be a lot of things happening at the same time. So I think that would be really one thing, to be able to make sure that there's affordable housing for all levels, all kinds of Papua New Guineans.
The Prime Minister, James Marape, has apologised to residents affected by the evictions. He says a permanent national plan to replace unplanned settlements with properly titled residential allotments will be announced in the coming months.
The Cook Islands Prime Minister has publicly congratulated new All Blacks coach Dave Rennie on his appointment, calling it a powerful moment for young Cook Islanders. New Zealand Rugby announced Mr. Rennie's ascension on Wednesday, saying he becomes the first All Blacks head coach with Pasifika heritage. Koroi Hawkins reports.
Dave Rennie's Pasifika heritage comes via his mother, who hails from Titikaveka on Rarotonga in the Cook Islands. And Mr. Rennie even played a non-test match for the country in 1990. Asked about his heritage in his first press conference as All Blacks head coach, he paid tribute to her legacy.
You know, she was hardworking, inspirational, and as I mentioned, she had a massive impact on me and my brothers and sisters. So yeah, I know she'd be really proud. So yeah, I'm honoured to represent the Cook Islands.
Posting off his official account on social media shortly after the announcement, Cook Islands Prime Minister Mark Brown congratulated Dave Rennie on his new role. This part of his statement is voiced.
As a son of Takitimu, he carries our Cook Islands heritage with him, and now he makes history as the first Pacific Peoples coach to lead the All Blacks. As patron of the Cook Islands Rugby Union, I know how powerful this moment is for our young players. When they see one of our own standing at the helm of the All Blacks, they see what is possible. Dave, we stand behind you. The Cook Islands is proud of you.
The president of Wellington Samoa Rugby Union, Leatawa Lesa Ken Akoi, says Mr. Rennie's appointment is great news for the wider Pasifika community.
Well, as a Pacific person in the rugby platform and promoting rugby for Pacific people in New Zealand, are very proud of this achievement, and I'm confident he's capable.
When asked in Wednesday's press conference if his connection with Pasifika players was an important part of what he did, Dave Rennie had this response.
I think having a connection with all the players is important, and we've got a fair bit of diversity within the group, and I think the ability to celebrate that is important. So yeah, I look forward to doing that.
As far as Pasifika representation in rugby in Aotearoa goes, Leatawa Lesa says it's time a Pacific person was recognised at the very top level.
Yes, of course, will have an impact, a huge impact to players, administrators of rugby. We talk about diversity in rugby in New Zealand, and this is a clear message that a Pacific person can do the job.
From his former Heretonia College to former Wallaby Quade Cooper, the congratulatory messages for Dave Rennie continue to flow in from far and wide. But already he's being asked if he would be keen to stay on after the World Cup.
Jeez, what is it, day one?
All but forward thinking, mate.
Yeah, you can't plan too far ahead in this game, as you know. So, I'm keen to get my feet under the desk and rip in. I've got to do a good job. That'll decide whether I'm here beyond that or not.
Dave Rennie will take up the role in June, with his first assignment in July when the All Blacks host France, Italy and Ireland for 3 tests in New Zealand.
What an interesting week it has been for rugby in Aotearoa and Pasifika. Dave Rennie's appointment as the All Blacks' first head coach with Pasifika heritage is lighting up excitement not only in New Zealand but across the Pacific. And while that is a hot topic of discussion, Moana Pasifika have their own challenge to face up to when they play in Hamilton on Friday night in round 4 of the Super Rugby Pacific competition. Our senior sports journalist Elisa Tora joins me for our Sipoti Talanoa for more on these. Bula Ili, as you may have heard in Koroi's story, as well as my own interview that I had done with our colleague over at PMN, there's a lot of anticipation around Dave Rennie's appointment as the new AB's head coach. But what's your take on it, and what does it mean going forward?
Yo, Mbula Vinaka. Interesting and exciting that we have a coach of Pasifika heritage in David Rennie taking over the reins with the All Blacks. From having seen him coach here in New Zealand, across the Tasman with the Wallabies in Australia, in Japan with Kobe in Japanese rugby, and of course, having had his stint also with the Chiefs. Rennie seems to have come through, the pathway, so to speak, having coached grassroots and then coming through the club, and then of course into international rugby. And I would say that he would be, rightly fitted to be taking over the coaching role with the All Blacks. The fact that he has Cook Islands links through his mother, basically makes him a Pacific point of interest or person of interest, with New Zealand rugby already having a big Pacifica influence across, right from community rugby into NPC, into the nationals, and of course the international teams. And having him come in at this time, although time may be not on his side with the Rugby World Cup fast approaching next year, I believe that he will be able to instill some changes. I would presume having had a look from outside and seeing how things have evolved, he would have an understanding of what he might want to change, what could work, and what is working that can probably be expanded upon for the All Blacks.
How much of an impact do you think Rennie's appointment will have on the Pasifika players in the All Black squad?
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting thing to look at, with him having his own Pasifika heritage and the All Blacks having quite a number of top players of Pasifika heritage in there. That is going to be interesting. But I believe with his Pasifika link, he will be able to link with the Pasifika players in the All Blacks for the good of the All Blacks team. I think Rennie will have a big influence on the All Blacks as a whole, and his advantage will be having his Pasifika link and earning that to earn the trust. And if he earns the respect and the understanding of the Pasifika players, that can translate into things happening successfully with the ABs. We just have to look at Moana Pasifika with Tana Umanga there, and when Adi was there last year, and of course, now translating into this year, his influence, he is respected, he is trusted, and when he says things, players listen and look up to him. And I think that is the kind of influence and impact that Rennie is going to have. And if he can earn the trust and respect of players like Adi Savea there, Tupovai, Samsoni Tauke Aho, and that will ignite the All Blacks in so many more ways and that will help. I seriously believe that will help the All Blacks change and become more consistent, and of course with the Rugby World Cup the main focus in 2027.
Let's watch the space. Back to Super Rugby though, what does Moana Pasifika need to do well against the Chiefs?
Well, last weekend Moana Pasifika, from what I saw, played 20 minutes rugby. They were trying to find their way the other 20 minutes and basically fell asleep for 40 minutes and they lost in the end. And that's how I analysed their game against Western Force, and against the All Blacks Tech Chiefs they cannot afford to do that. Captain Miracle Failangi and head coach Falong Tanumanga understand what they are up against with the Chiefs on Friday night. And from discussions that I had with them after the Western Force game, focusing on how they want to go into the Chiefs game, having a good start, getting some good go forward momentum and turning their opportunity into points critical. The Chiefs are going to be fired up. They lost at home against the Crusaders last weekend, and Moana will just need to focus on their own game, win the physical battles, get on the right foot, be playing at the right end of the field, and keep going for 80 minutes. They can't afford, as I said, they can't afford to start and then fall apart and then try to come back, because they did come back against Western Force, but it was too late. So they will need to be playing 80 minutes until the final whistle.
And who else is playing this weekend, Ili?
Well, on Friday night, the Waratahs are hosting the Hurricanes at home in Sydney. The Hurricanes just lost in the end against the Fijian Drua last weekend, but they have the chance. But they are going to be facing a strong Waratahs side at home. And on Saturday, the Highlanders hosting the Western Force in Dunedin. The Highlanders also lost last weekend. Their only win has been against the Crusaders, and that happened at home. And there is hope that they will be able to turn this game around and probably win their second game in the series so far. And then the Blues are hosting the Crusaders at Eden Park on Saturday evening in what is expected to be it's going to be another tough and exciting clash. The Crusaders, high from winning against the Chiefs in Hamilton last weekend, and the Blues will be wanting to keep their home record intact and keep their home ground title also when they play the Crusaders. Top of the table Brumbies will face the Reds in Canberra late on Saturday night, and the Fijian Drua on a bye this weekend.
That's Pacific Waves for today. For all episodes, head over to rnz.co.nz/Pacific. We're also on Spotify, Apple and iHeartRadio. From myself and the RNZ Pacific team, tō whā, sui fua.